the one, the only, Ben Sion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're starting a new daf, as every day we start a new daf. Daf Mem number 44 in Masechtas Nazir. Let's start from the bottom of Mem Gimel Beis. About 5 lines from the bottom. Tanya Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana asked a question we were discussing yesterday. Even though in certain instances a Kohen is allowed to matame for his relatives, 7 krovim, to bury them, there's a discussion if the body is not completely intact, is he allowed to or not? So one opinion before said, at the top of the Daf It said, the name of Rav, that if his father is decapitated, he can't bury him. He can't be matame for him. So the Gemara challenged that. The Gemara challenged it again. Tanya Rav Kahana Berozer ben Yaakov. Kahana taught it to Bryce that was in the name of Berozer ben Yaakov. La mitma be'enu matame le'vorim. This is talking about his sister. His sister, the puzzle is La. His sister is one of the Zion Krovim. He can be matame be'enu matame le'vorim. However, her body parts of his sister, he can't be matame. Prat, this comes to exclude Kazayas minames. Kazayas natil. Umalotarvid rekev. He can't become matame for Kazayas minames, of a flesh of her sister. But Kazayas natil. Natil is the liquid that oozes from his sister, which is Kazayas. Not exactly flesh, but liquid. Umalotarvid rekev. Let's say the body of his sister decomposed. It's just, basically dust. If you fill up a spoon with that. So other places it's considered tumah, but however, for this amount you can't be matame yourself to bury that. You might think also it shouldn't apply that if she has her spinal cord is there, or the gugolos, her skull, lorov binyana, or most of the bones in her body. Lorov binyana means most of the build of her body, which is connected. Lorov minyana, even though it's not a majority of the bones in the body. Lorov minyana, or if you just amassed bones from different places in our body, it would be most of the bones in our body. Ksiv ve'amarta alehem. It says an extra vav, ve'amarta alehem, when it comes to tumah by kohanim. Hosev la'akasav tumah cheres. Not only do you bury them when they're complete, but also if you have a significant amount of the Zion Krovim, for example, their head, or a majority of their bones, or a major part of their bones stuck together, or the spinal cord. So the top of him down and out. So it says his sister. His sister is allowed to matame if it's a significant part of his body of his sister. Maybe only by his sister. What about the other 6 krovim? Amart ma achosam yichedesh guvatalibo. Right, her burial is depend on him. He's allowed to, even though it's not a complete body, he's allowed him to bury that part of the body, a significant part of the body. All the other 6 krovim also. So you see, even though it's definitely not part of it's not the entire body, he can matame to bury her, even as a Kohen. He nami Rabbi Yehudi. That's Rabbi Yehudi. Rav the Amar Ki Aitana. Rav, who said the name of Rav Chisda, he held like a different Tana, not like Rabbi Yehuda the Sanya. Where do we find that author of the Marais or Mishnah? The Sanya Maisa Shemes Avish Rabbi Yitzchak Ginazek. The father of Rabbi Yitzchak died in Ginazek. Ubo v'hodiulo la'achar shalosh shanim. He didn't find out about it until 3 years later. Ubo v'shalosh Rabbi Yeshua ben Elisha v'dal zkanim. He went to ask if he can bury his father. His father was buried already. Either his father wasn't buried, or he wanted to bury him now, or he wanted to reinter his father, bring him to, I don't know, a burial plot of the family. You're allowed to do that under certain circumstances. Shamu va'amru la'aviv bisman shu shalom lo bisman shu chasher. They quoted him the opinion of Rav Chisda in the name of Rav. You can't do it because after 3 years, part of the body of the father is decomposed, so it's not the entire body. So therefore, you can't, because you're a Kohen, you can't go and be matame yourself to bury it. Mishnah says, Shlosha minin asurim ben Nazir. There's 3 different types of isurim by Nazir. We've said this many times. Atuma, he can't become tamei. B'atagalachas, he can't shave his head or his beard. Vayotze min hagefen, he also can't eat anything which comes out of the grapevine. Chomer v'tuma v'tagalachas vayotze min hagefen. There's certain stringencies that apply to tuma and shaving the hair. which don't apply to what comes out of the vine. Tuma, Tuma, if he becomes Tame or he shaves his head, that takes him back certain days in his counting. Right? Tuma takes him back entirely. The Galachas takes him back 30 days, we'll see. However, if he drinks wine, he can continue fulfilling his Naziris. He filled 17 days, just do another 13 days. He didn't even drink wine. Right? There's a stringency when it comes to eating grapes or drinking wine. There's no heter ever to drink during your Naziris to drink wine or to eat grapes. There are certain times when you're allowed, even though you're not, you're allowed to be matame and you're allowed to shave your head. But the galachas mitzvah, we'll see. The Gemara talks about if you're a matzora while you're a Nazir. So at the end of the tzaras, the purification of the tzaras, you shave your entire body. That's allowed, even though you're a Nazir. The Gemara will learn. It says that we've learned it already. Actually, a mace mitzvah. And when it comes to be matame, making yourself tame, you can do that for a mace mitzvah. Even though a Nazir can't do it for Zayin Krovim, but he could do it for an unintended corpse. The chomer betuma, maybe t'kalachas. There's a stringency by tuma, which we don't find t'kalachas. Shatuma soteres takol. The chayv on that car, but if you become tame in the middle of your Naziris, right? You have to start counting again. It was 100 day Naziris. Start again. The chayv on a korban. You have to, at the end of your purification process from the tuma, you have to bring a korban. T'kalachas eno soteres al shloshim. If you do shave your head, you have to start another 30 days. You have to have a growth of hair at 30 days, but you're not chayav to bring a korban. The Gemara says, "Tuma lo susar miklala." Tuma is never mutter. Kavachomer. Sorry, the Gemara says, "Tuma lo tutar miklala." Even though the Mishnah says tuma is mutter in certain circumstances, it shouldn't be, right? Logically, kavachomer miyayin. We should learn from miyayin, right? Something comes from the grapevine. Miyayin shelo soser. If you drink wine in the middle of Naziris, it doesn't, dismantle the entire count. Lo hutar miklala. That was never mutter in Naziris. Tuma, it's much more chomer, it's much more stringent. Tuma, right, makes you start counting again. And it didn't show tutor mikla, certainly shouldn't be mutter. Talmud Lomar, la'aviv imo. It says by Nazir, he can't even matame for his father and his mother. Lo yitame. La'aviv imo, it says particularly his father and his mother. Lo yitame. Val mitmahu l'meis mitzvah. It implies that for someone else he could be matame. Who could he be matame? For a meis mitzvah, an undead corpse, he could do that. The yayin, yuter mikla. The Gemara proceeds further. Wine should be mutter under certain circumstances. Kava chomer, for example, if it's a mitzvah. Kava chomer mituma. Learn from Tuma. Tuma shisosaris hutra miklala. Tuma is more severe, right? That it makes you start counting again. Hutra miklala. It's mutter for a mace mitzvah. Yayin sheno soser. Yayin does not make you start counting again. It didn't hutra miklala. Certainly, it should be allowed under certain circumstances when it's a mitzvah. Amakram yayin v'sheichar yazir. Asher yayin mitzvah again just like the Gemara Darshan, Yayin Sheichar Yazir, it says it twice, Yayin and Sheichar, extra time to say this. Tell you, even Yayin Mitzvah, you didn't even take a shvua that you're going to drink wine, as the Gemara's Maskana was in Daf Dalid. Nonetheless, you can't drink wine. The Nazirus does not let you fulfill the shvua. Yayin Yistar Esakol. The Gemara continues asking questions logically about the Mishnah, and the Gemara is bringing psukim to show that it's not true. Yayin Yistar Esakol. Yayin should, if you drink wine in the middle of your Nazirus, you have to start counting again. Kavachom Rituma. We should learn in a culture came from Tuma. Not Tuma, Shehutra Miklala. Tuma is mutter for a mace mitzvah, starts the kol. Nonetheless, if you become Tamei not for a mace mitzvah, or even for a mace mitzvah, actually, the Gemara says, even if you do what you're supposed to do, mace mitzvah, you still have to start counting again. Yayin, Shehutra Miklala. Yayin, there's never a permission to drink wine, even if it's a mitzvah. Lo kol shken sheyistar. Certainly, if you drink wine, you should start counting again. Amakar, Yalam Rishonim Yiplo Ki Tamei Nizro. It says, the first days that you observe your Nazirus fall away. You have to start counting again. Kitam in Israel, Tuma Soser. It says only by Tuma. It specifies Tuma. Tuma Soser is Ve'enayin Soser. Tuma takes you back to the start. You have to go back to the beginning. Ve'ena Yayin Soser, and Yayin does not. The Galachas Tistar, that's a call. So the Gemara persists. Galachas, if you shave your head, it should take you back to the beginning. And not 99th day, you should go back to the beginning if you shave your head. We should learn a culture again from Tuma. Not Tuma, shalo asuba mitma kimitma, mitami kimitma. When it comes to Tuma, right, there's a fundamental difference in the person who becomes Tam. He's a Nazir, right? He gets malchus for becoming Tame. However, the person, if he's Tame and he touches him and makes him Tame, right, he does not get malchus. So Zeresakol. It makes you start counting until we'll see in a second in the Gemara. The Mishnah, not only do you get malchus if you're a Nazir and your head is shaved, but even the person who shaves the Nazir head is chayiv. I'll explain the exact reasoning in Yad Ben Sion, little little trailer over there. um, uh, 2 months there, and right? And the should distress a call. Certainly, by Takalaka, it should make you start counting at the very beginning. I'm gonna crop Yamam Risham Yipluk Yitami in Israel. 2 months there is the call, and Takalaka is there is the call. Again, it specifies only 2 months, and not Takalaka, not shaving your head. Nasaba, so the Gemara persists, Nasaba mitmakim etame. We should make the person who makes a Nazir tummy should also get makos. Kal v'chomer Takalakas. Kol shkeim from shaving. My Galaka shein l'seder el shloshem. It only makes you count 30 days. Atzabam galeach mitkaleach. Right. Nonetheless, even the person who shaves the Nazir set, not only the Nazir gets malchus. Too much he says there is a call. It's more severe that it makes you start counting all the way in the beginning. Should be just like the person the Nazir becomes tummy. The person who is metame also should get malchus. Amar karo tami rosh nizro metame rosh nizro. Metame rosh nizro. Only the person who's the Nazir, right? Rosh nizro metame rosh nizro. Only the person who is the Nazir gets malchus. With the Kalacha, so Nasaba Magaleach Mechleach. So the Gemara persists, fine. So now we say it's clear that by Tuma, it's only the Nazir who comes to The person who's a Matamim does not get Malchus. So we should say the same thing by shaving. Lo Nasaba Magaleach Mechleach. Kalachom Tuma, Matuma, she's there to call it. It removes your entire count. Lo Nasaba Matamik Mitma. The Kalacha, Shein Sazer, Sal Shloshim Yom Lakol Shekeh. So Nasaba Magaleach Mechleach. Amar Tar Lo Yavar Al Rosha. Karibal Lo Yavar. Right? It says, I believe, without a vav, lo yavor. So you could read it two different ways, lo yaver and lo yavor. Lo yavor is you shouldn't cut someone else's hair. Lo yaver shouldn't be on your head. Your head shouldn't be cut. So therefore, the pasuk is mashma in both their ways. Both people get malchus. That's the drasha from the pasuk. I'll explain the reasoning in the Ben Sion. Karbe lo yavor, hu v'lo yavor la'acher. Right? He can't lo yaver. He can't. The Nazir can't get his hair cut. And he also can't cut another Nazir's hair. But the Kalachas, or if he's not a Nazir, can't cut a Nazir's hair. But the Kalachas are tutor mikola. So the Gemara again questions. Shaving your head should never be mutter. Kavachomer miyayin. My yayin shein asoser doesn't dismantle your counting at all. Tutor mikola is never permitted. The Kalachas shesoser, the Kalachas which does dismantle your counting, and din shel tutor mikola. Certainly it should never be mutter. For example, a Metzora who's purifying himself. Amrachmana Rosho. Amrachmana Zikno. It says specifically it shaves all the hair of the Metzora, purifies himself, he shaves all his hair. And then it specifies his hair of his head and his beard. Why does it specify that? Like we learned earlier in the Gemara a couple of dafim ago, to tell you that nonetheless he's permitted at the end of his saras to get a haircut. Tegalachas lotist or klal. Tegalachas, you shouldn't dismantle his counting at all. Kavachomer miyayin. We should learn from miyayin. My yayin shalotim miklolo. It's never mutter. It doesn't dismantle your counting at all. Takalachas shehusham miklolo. Tegalachas, which is sometimes mutter, like Mamasora, din shalotistar. Certainly, it shouldn't remove your counting at all. But gidol sar, where it says about Leika, you need gidol para. Part of the fundamental part of being a Nazir is that your hair is long. 30 days is considered having long hair, a little bit long hair, and you need 30 days. Yayin yistar shloshim yom. So therefore, we should learn that yayin, if you drink wine, at least 30 days you should have to go back. Galachas, which is mutter under certain circumstances by Metzora, right? It takes you back 30 days. It's never a mutter, and then she is star. Certainly, it should at least take you back 30 days. It's not because the reason he goes back 30 days by Galachas is not because it's unique by Galachas. It happens to be just the pasuk says he needs Gidol Sar, and therefore, if he drinks wine, he still has his Gidol Sar. That's the only thing that Torah specified. It's a technical reason. It's not actual chumrah by it. It's just a technicality. In order to become a Nazir, you have to have long hair, and therefore it's not relevant to comparing it to wine. Start the Mishnah Mandala Madbeis. Mishnah says Galachas Tuma Keitzad. Shaving your head for Tuma, right? We mentioned if you become Tameh in the middle of your Naziris, you have to, right, be Metaher yourself. On the third and seventh day, sprinkle water, and then shave your hair on the seventh day, and then go to the mikvah. And then on the eighth day, you bring korban. He's sprinkling the mei chatas on the third and seventh day, and he shaves his head on the seventh day. He goes to the mikvah, and then he brings his korbanos on the eighth day. Vim gilach b'shmini, if he waited to shave his head on the 8th day, maybe come nasa baba yom. Rabbi Akiva says, nonetheless, he doesn't have to wait till the 9th day to bring his karbanos. He waited, doesn't make a difference. I'm gonna let Tarfon. Tarfon says back to Rabbi Akiva, Ma bin zelam mitzora. What should be the difference between a Nazir and a mitzora? And mitzora, everyone agrees by mitzora. If he doesn't shave his body, right, on the 7th day, then he has to wait, and only on the 8th day, he has to bring his karbanos on the 9th day. So Amar Le Zet Tarasa Tluya B'Yamav Mitzora Tarasa Tluya B'Tkalachto. When it comes to a Nazir who comes Tameh from corpse tuma, so he has to wait 7 days. The counting of 7 days is what makes him, right? That's the fact. It's not dependent on cutting shaving his head, his beard, and his hair, right? So therefore, it's inconsequential when he does it. Mitzora Tarasa Tluya B'Tkalachto. However, Mitzora, it's really dependent on what was Matayr him completely. It's not just waiting 7 days. It's actually shaving his body. And therefore, on the 8th, if he waits till the 8th day to shave his body, then he needs to go to the mikvah. And when you go to the mikvah, you have to wait for sunset. And once sunset hits, you can't bring your karbanos anymore, so you have to wait till the next day. So therefore, if he waits by taras, he has to wait the 9th day. However, by Rabbi Akiva saying when it comes to a Nazir who's matami himself, so therefore already even if he waits till the 8th day to cut his hair, it's okay because he can go and bring his karbanos, because really on the 7th day, right, that's when he's already basically his tumah stopped. And it's not dependent. One is a technicality, he has to shave his head and his beard. However, that's not the important thing. So already the 7th day it's over. On the 8th day he brings karbanos, even if he shaves his head on the 8th day. The Gemara says, Kibla minei otlo. Did Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Akiva retorted to Rabbi Tarfon, did Rabbi Tarfon accept what Rabbi Akiva said or not? Tashma, the Tani Hillel taught in a brayso, Gilech b'shmini, maybe Kavanasa b'chi. If a Nazir shaves his head on the 8th day, he actually always waits till the 9th day. He's not like that Kibla minei. Leisi Kavanasa b'shmini. If Rabbi Tarfon agreed to Rabbi Akiva, so we have this brayso, right, which seems to be everyone saying, Rabbi Tarfon should say, on the 8th day. So you see, he argues on it. He still argues. Rava lo kasha. No, it's possible. Tarfon did concede to Rabbi Akiva. How did tavel b'shvi? How did lo tavel b'shvi? Right? It depends, right? If he shaved his hair on the 8th day, but he went to the mikvah already on the 7th day, that's the important. You need hair of shemesh. So he went to the mikvah on the 7th day. So once he goes to the mikvah on the 7th day, then he can shave his head on the 8th day, and then he can bring his karbanos on the 8th day. However, if he didn't go to the mikvah on the 7th day, he cut his hair and he went to the mikvah on the 8th day, so then even Rabbi Akiva would agree he has to wait the 9th day. You need hair of shemesh. Once you go to the mikvah, going to the mikvah is just part of the process. You have to wait till shkias achama, and then you can't bring your karbanos anymore. You have to bring karbanos during the day, so therefore you have to wait to bring the karbanos during the 9th day. And that is where we'll stop over here, because we're discussing a new topic over here about coming into the base of Mikdash while you're tummy. Stay tuned for Ian Ben Sion, where I discuss halakha that came out of the Mishnah, the long Mishnah, or the long discussion about this Mishnah on Mem Dalet and Aleph. An interesting halakha that a Nazir who becomes Tameh, he gets Malchus. But if you're a Matamim, you go ahead and you're an Avatuma or Avivos Atuma and you touch, right? You could be an Avivos Atuma if you're, let's say, Cherev Hareyo Kachalal, there's a metal instrument which you're touching, which is connected to a corpse, you can call Avivas Tuma. And technically, if you touched a Nazir, that would be a violation of corpse Tuma. However, you don't get Malchus for that. However, when it comes to a Nazir, right, who gets a haircut, not only is the person Nazir who gets the haircut, but also the person, the barber, who is not a Nazir, who gave him a haircut, he also gets Malchus. Right, and now we learn into the Mishnah, Liaver al Rosho, Liaver, it depends how you read it. So both are included. That's the drasha. But what's the underlying svara? What's the explanation and logic why it is that by Nazir even the barber gets Malchus? We'll explain that Ian Ben Sion coming up next.